you got to let go. If this is helping my office, let's say you want to use a robot that answers your phone, just for example, right? You still have control over it. You can do it in a hybrid way, or you can just do 100% robot, for example. But you got to let go of the idea that every phone call needs to be answered with a person all the time. That your staff is the only people that can answer the phone, or you're the only person that the patient come to see. My best compliment is when patients come for a recall and they look at me and they go, "Who are you?" I think that's a good compliment, because that means the team deliver correctly.
Hey there, Dental Economist. If you're a dentist owner or a leader within a dental business thinking about growing production, case acceptance, patient and staff satisfaction, positive outcomes, and everything else that comes with running a dental business, then you're a dental economist, and you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Dental Economist Show. We're meeting at the intersection of profit and purpose as I sit down with dental leaders who share their stories about dentistry, business, and growth. Welcome back to the Dental Economist Show with me, Mike Huffaker. Before we dive into today's conversation, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, leave a review wherever you consume your podcasts. Your support really helps us to continue to bring valuable insights to the dental community and the dental professionals who are looking to grow and thrive in their practices. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Dr. Emily Letran, a dentist, entrepreneur, author, and philanthropist with an incredible journey from refugee to successful dental practice owner and coach. Dr. Letran is the founder of multiple multi-specialty dental practices in Southern California and is deeply committed to mentoring other business professionals and giving back through her foundation. Her experience spans leadership, staff engagement, patient retention, and much more. Dr. Emily, it is an honor to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Well, thank you so much, Mike, for having me on the show. And I want to say thank you to Beth Gardis for recommending me as a guest on the show. I always honor the people who actually take the time to create a platform and then take that initiative to invite people on to share the stories, the expertise, because I think at the end of the day, we all can learn from each other. And sometimes, I may be sharing something and everybody may be saying, well, we know that. But what I challenge them to do is, you know that, are you doing it? Are you doing it consistently? And is your staff doing the same thing? Because a lot of time, if we're talking to dentists, they're on that journey and they forgot that there's a whole team that got to be on that same journey with them at the same pace, or sometimes faster than them, in order to get everybody to be successful.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to talk about your journey and appreciate the Beth shout out. Beth is definitely a super connector, and she is out there always introducing good people to good people, and I very much appreciate her efforts. Speaking of journeys, you have an incredible one. You came to the U.S. as a refugee, and you've built a successful career in dentistry, coaching, philanthropy. Can you share a little bit about what your journey has been like and maybe how it's shaped your resilience and your view of leadership?
I've been very blessed. I came to the U.S. originally from Vietnam, born during the Vietnam War, growing up watching TVs with all the war images and propaganda. In 1975 is when the Vietnam War ended, so it's actually 50 years this year, the commemoration at the end of the Vietnam War. And then in 1981, my dad's younger sister decided to escape from the country. So there's a wave of people leaving the country because they could not accept, life under communism. You basically have to pay your way to have somebody help you escape. So we only had so much money. So it's only my aunt, her 2 kids, me, my older brother, and 2 other cousins. And the reason I'm sharing that is because I left my dad and never had a chance to see him again. And my mom had passed away when I was 8. So when we came to this country, we had this little extended family of people from different families, in the whole big family. And that's how we stay. We just have my aunt here and several cousins, and eventually we get married and then, people have kids and things like that. It's a sense we got to be together, right? Like we got to help each other to grow. And I'm super, super blessed to be in this country because I think it's not like I live in another country, but I know that in the U.S. is where you got that government help. in the US is where I got the opportunity. I got scholarships. I got grants. I wouldn't say life is easy, but I think life is easier than in a lot of other countries where we given the opportunity. What you make of the opportunity is one thing, but at least you're given the opportunity. I graduated from undergrad at UC Riverside and then from dental school, UCLA. So throughout the whole journey, I've received so much help. At the beginning, when I first came, it was a governmental help for the family. There was housing, the food stamp, you name it, we got it, right? When I got to school, we got grants, we got scholarships. So I made that commitment during this journey that when I can, I will give back. And the foundation is an entity that I create, but really, you don't need a foundation. We do annual free dentistry day. We serve veterans, families of disadvantaged background. We do it right there in the office. A lot of our dental colleagues, you already have an office. You don't need to go on a mission. You don't need to wait until we're in California. So CDA Cares Day, where, we got a bunch of dentists come in and help thousands of people. Well, how about just in your own community? You just do that one day. It's a regular dentistry day, except you don't make any money, which is okay. A lot of my staff, I tell people, this is the day that we do free dentistry day. I tell my associate doctor, if that's the day that he or she is supposed to work. Well, doctor, you can come into work. You don't want to come into work, that's up to you, right? But this is the day that we're just going to do free dentistry day, filling, cleaning, extraction. If somebody needs more than that, I will reach out to the lab and say, I'm doing this for free. Can you help me? Can you sponsor this? Or can you give me a discount or whatever it is? But of course, I'm paying it out of pocket. And, eventually I got associate doctors who say, no, I'm coming in. I'm not getting paid. I'm coming in. I got staff who told me that they don't need to get paid. And I don't ask them to do that. I told them it's a regular work day, except today we're doing work for free. And so I think what that does is it create a little, that ripple effect. I had a staff who told me, I've been a dental assistant for so many years. None of my previous offices do this. Can you imagine if each dentist just do one day in the whole year, just each person just do one day? How many days can we give back to the community? And I talked to my dentist friend, you want to compete on charity? It's a good way to win. You're doing good and you get recognized. You don't do it for that reason. But if that's part of your value, if that's part of what is important to you, do it like that. So I don't need to try to say, I went to LVI. Well, I didn't go to LVI, but you know what I'm saying? Like I got all of these certifications and all of these plaques on the wall. That's great. People will know you more when you say, oh, that office, they do free dentistry for the community. Or they ask you to go do a free screening for seniors or for school. Just say yes, because these are opportunities to give back. And I think what's most important is it gives the doctor and the team the fulfillment, that feeling that you don't get that feeling when you make a lot of money, I don't think. I think that's from doing things for others.
What I like about your story, what you just shared, is first off, you recognized the opportunity that you had when you came to the United States. And you were the recipient of grants and different other opportunities, but you took advantage of those opportunities, meaning like you recognized at the time that this was special, you were being afforded something, and it wasn't to be wasted. And so you pursued your education, you become a doctor of dentistry, and then you feel this obligation to give back to others. Taking a step back, when you were going to school, what attracted you to dentistry in the first place?
So this is where we share the uninspiring story.
Okay, let's hear the uninspiring story. Those are important too.
The uninspiring story is back in the late 80s. So when we came to this country, my aunt used to be a pharmacist back home. And so she was doing odd job to raise us. But her one thing is, try to find something in healthcare, because I hear that it's easy to find a job. That was the goal. Make sure you get a job. I think there was a Rotary Club person that came through school and they took us out to visit certain facilities. And I think one of them was a health center. And I thought, hey, this looks pretty nice. It's a nice place and they have AC and all that wonderful stuff.
It's the simple things sometimes, right?
Simple things, right? When I got into undergrad, I said, okay, I want to go into healthcare. And how ironic it is right now, we attached to this, right? But I hated the people. I said, I don't want people to be able to track me down, right? they're paging people all the time. So I said, I don't want to be a doctor, which is, I know was not a very smart reason for that. Then I went and I interviewed a pharmacist. I asked him what he does, and he said he counts pills. And I wasn't very inspired. And I look at the medical technologist. I went into the room. I still remember I went to the room and I was looking for the microscope. And then he looked at me and he said, no, you get a sample, you put it in this computer thing, you push a button and it spit out the result, right? And I was looking, as a young kid, okay, we need the microscope and we need to do all of these work and just put it in the computer. So I was kind of not sure what I would do. Dentistry actually did not cross my mind. And I remember specifically at a party, one of my friends, a Vietnamese friend, come up and say, hey, I heard that you wanted to be a pharmacist. I looked into that and he said, don't be one. Because his parents used to be pharmacists back home. And back in Vietnam or a lot of the third world country, the pharmacist is sort of the doctor. You come into the store, you say, I have a tummy ache, and they ask you the symptom and they sell you 2 Tylenols or something like that. So it's not like over here, you go to CVS and there you have 20 choices. So he said, why don't you go into dentistry? And then my wife, just process of elimination. I said, okay, I'm going to go into dentistry. So I think when I went in, I found out that people either had extensive experience with dentistry. They have a lot of work done, so they appreciate that. They wanted to go into that. There are also quite a few that, their parents were dentists. I think I went to dental school with 2 fillings in my mouth, and that's about my experience with dentistry. But as I went through the training, what I enjoyed was the patients, the story that the patient tell you and what stayed with you. I remember giving, back then, UCLA had you drawing blood from patient. And I remember I drew the blood and I was like this. I was done and I asked the patient, are you okay? And the patient said, yes. And then she go, are you okay? Oh, there's more connection than just the dental work, right? Like they actually care about you and asking you questions. And to this day, I say I made the right decision. I have patients who stay with me for 26 years. I recently sold that very first practice. So I was there for 26 years. I had patients who, they come in and they hear your phone ringing off the hook because this is before all of these automation, right? And they would say, do you want me to answer the phone for you? They just want to help. They're part of the family. So I think we are blessed because we have that sort of built in every 6 months. We see our patients. We have a chance to know them better if you choose to do that. And you have a chance to change lives. I can't tell you how many times, it's just like when I say you do the free day of dentistry, right? You know that one appointment probably changed that person's life. You just feel honored that you're the one that had that opportunity. And I think in a lot of other businesses, you can't say the same thing. But we can do that. We can say that really anytime we want.
You just talked about a lot of the positives to dentistry. And I think that a lot of dentists feel the same way that you do. There's this opportunity to build these connections. There's this opportunity to give back to the community. You can have real meaningful impact on people's lives and their overall health. Now, the other side of dentistry, which I think also gets a lot of discussion, is people burning out and dentists that just kind of hit a wall and they lose some of the joy in what they're doing, or they're not finding the same fulfillment that they had felt before. Why do you think that happens? And when you're coaching, how do you advise to help folks prevent from becoming burnt out, or maybe to recover their joy if they've become burnt out?
I think the answer to me is actually simple. The answer is clarity. Understanding exactly why you're working, what are you striving for. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're training for a racetrack, right? Like the kid, you're an athlete, you're training. You have one specific goal. You're going to run that race in so much time and you want to win. Anybody who say, hey, let's go out, drink some beers or do something that distract you from that goal while you're training for that, it's very easy for you to say no, right? Because you got that one goal, that one time, specific time, and you're focusing on that and you don't let things distract you. Now imagine if you're practicing dentistry like that. I think a lot of people, somebody who say, I'm really stressed out. I'm working 6 days and I do this and that. And, I want to do this for my family and I want to do this for my staff. And I want to go and volunteer at school. A bunch of things that if you actually ask yourself, what's most important to you? And sometimes it's just three things, it could be family, could be health, maybe it's wealth that you're chasing. I don't care what it is, but it's only a couple things. It cannot be 10 things. You cannot chase 10 things, right? And when you're very clear about that, whatever challenges that raise, you will be committed to overcome it because that's your goal. If you're trying to do something that is not part of your goal, you hit a hurdle, you're going to give up or you're going to feel really frustrated. And it's almost like, well, why are you doing it? I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to do implants. I don't like surgery. I've taken several implant courses. I've done a couple of implants in my office, and I'm convinced I don't like implants surgery. That's it. So if you were to tell me, you should add implant to your office because it can add, each implant, let's say it's $5,000, you can really improve your production, right? If I try to do that, knowing that I don't like to do it, knowing that that's not the best thing I do because I do it once in a while, I'm just going to be stressed out, even though my goal is to increase the production. So the other way to do it is to bring in somebody who would do the implant for me. It would still improve the production. I would still get to keep part of a collection. So now I can provide that service, but I'm not stressed. See, I think a lot of time people get stressed because they're trying to do something that they don't like to do, they're not equipped to do. They feel like they're forced to do, like when people complaining, I have to take the insurance or whatever, PPO. I'm not entering in that conversation. It's more, what is it that you're trying to do? What is your goal? Oh, I want to retire in 10 years. Then maybe you need to speed up this production thing. And maybe you need to add some procedures that is not covered by the PPO. Or maybe you need to bring in a doctor who do stuff that not covered by the PPO if you're the one that's doing all of the other procedure. So having that clarity in what is your goal, what's most important to me, and make sure that you're operating and you're doing things in alignment with that goal, I think is priority number one. Because most of the time when I ask people, they stress, I'm stressed about this, I'm stressed about that. And when I ask them, why are you doing that? They don't have a good answer for themselves, not for me, but for themselves. They just say, oh, yeah, well, I took that course and I think I should do this, but I actually don't like it. Or let's just say, oh, I'm so stressed out because I got to pay this marketing company, whatever, and they're not producing the result. Then the clarity part there is, have you lay out your expectations so they would say, okay, we can or we cannot fulfill it. And then if that relationship is not right, then just terminate it. I know it's easier said than done, but what I'm saying is to go through that process so you get that clarity so you can make the decision. Because I think the stress comes from unable to make the decision, like carry on and you're not happy. Sometimes it comes from having the courage. Okay, that's the decision. I can't make it. I can't fire that person. I'm hanging on to that person. I'm afraid of this and that. And the other thing, besides the clarity, is I want to say that most of us do not know everything. I know we all think we're smart, but we don't know everything. And I think a lot of us can use a consultant, a coach. And I'm not saying that because I'm one. It's because then you don't have to figure out everything. Because if you work with somebody who know, the answer come faster, you get things solved, and then you can move on and have a happier life.
No, I think it's definitely a worthwhile investment. And I was going to ask when you were talking, you said, hey, clarity is so important. And that resonates. That makes sense. Then you said, well, where are your priorities? What are your goals? But what popped into my head when you were talking about that was, do people actually know? Because I think that's maybe make an assumption that if I said, hey, Dr. Emily, what are your goals right now? What are you working on? Now, you likely would be able to just kind of pop off at the top of your head 2 or 3 things that you're prioritizing, that you're really focusing on and that are important to you. I think a lot of people have a hard time actually identifying, like really, truly what their goals are. Do you find that to be the case or?
No, it's absolutely the case. And that's why I say the clarity is important. Because when I'm asking the people those kind of questions, they don't have an answer. I'll give you an example. One time somebody asked me, so what's your goal? And I said, one of my goals is to be a world famous philanthropist. So she laughed and she go, why do you need to be world famous? And I said, because if I'm world famous, I can go and ask people to give money and they will listen to me. Right? If I'm just local, I can't go ask somebody in New York to donate money to a certain cause, right? So I want to be world famous for that reason. Now, if you want to be world famous for the celebrity status, that's a totally different drive, I think. But for me, that's my goal. A foundation come and ask me, and I say, oh yeah, I'll go ask for money for you. I said, I do that really well when I'm asking for money, not for me. Because I'm asking for money for that particular cause. And people can sense your passion, and that's what you truly want. So I think a lot of our dental colleagues, they have a goal, which is great. What I'm asking them is, okay, so are you actually working on that goal every day? Like somebody say, I want to have work-life balance. That's one of my goals. But you're working 6 days a week, and then you want to do all these things, and then you say you miss the kids' whatever performance, and you didn't go here. Oh, it's been a while since I took a vacation. Okay, if you tell me things like that, you're telling me that you don't value family. And I mean that in a very general way, right? Because if you do value your family, I think you would set time for the family. And the set time, it breaks your, maybe you take Wednesday morning off. Maybe you go on vacation every quarter, a mini vacation. You plan that family vacation. I recently spoke at an event and I said, hey, I got my goals with my kids. People need to graduate from college without being pregnant or, being on drugs, right? And we accomplished that. Sounds simple and kind of funny, but it is actually very hard nowadays to make sure people go through like that, right? But imagine if that's my written goal and I'm working toward it, right? I'll be watching my kids. I make sure that they're, hanging out with the wrong crowd. Like I'll be asking them questions, hey, their relationship kind of thing. And you know what? That might take 5 minutes in the evening with the kids. But then you have that peace of mind. I think they're on the right track. I think people are going to graduate without drugs or being pregnant. So it's your intention, which is very important. So once you're clear with what you want to do, you need to set that intention. Everything is toward that goal. A lot of my friends, they say, oh, I want to be $1 million. I want $1 million office. And I have a very simple question to ask them. Why isn't it 10 million? And most of the time, they don't have an answer for that either. They just want $1 million practice because that's what everybody talk about. How about if you say, I want to net 500 or I want to net $1 million? I mean, to me, that's more specific. And it kind of speaks to me where, okay, so you want to make that money. The next question is, what do you want to do with the money? Because sometimes, oh, I want to make that much money because then I can get more staff or whatever, and I can take time off. Well, hello, you're the boss. You can take time off. You don't have to wait until you net $1 million. You just put in your schedule. I'm taking this day off. I'm taking this time off. And you allow yourself to take that time off. And you'll be surprised that with fewer days, a lot of time you make the same damn production.
So what would today, Dr. Emily, say to your past self when you were first coming out of school, when you were about to begin your career in dentistry? If you could go back and give yourself some advice, well, what would that be?
Slow down.
And it would be guaranteed to not be listened to because none of us at that age have any concept. I think many of us still at my age now don't have a concept of what that means to slow down. Why is that important? Why would that be the advice?
So when I was in undergrad, I was in a hurry to finish undergrad because I wanted to go to the next step so I can get out and make money for the family. So I finished undergrad in 3 years. When I was in dental school, I thought I wanted to specialize. So besides the dental curriculum, I enrolled myself in a master program. So I actually graduated in 4 years with a DDS MS degree. And then when I got out, again, I need to work, I need to make money, I need to buy a house, we need to help the family. I was working 6 days, which is normal for a new grad. And I was working at 3 offices. And I loved it because I wanted the different clientele. And then I learned later with the Kobe assessment that I'm a quick start. So I just like changes. But throughout all that time, it was work, focus, et cetera, et cetera. This is an undergrad school reunion. They do a slideshow. And I'm sitting there going, hey, how come you guys don't have a picture of me? I think about the whole slideshow. I saw myself 2-3 times. And they said, well, you did not go to parties. You didn't go to those things. The same thing with dental school. You weren't there because in the evening when they go out for dinner, you go to the lab because you're trying to do this lab for your master. I missed some of those opportunities. But I think it's also because I was always focused, like this is the goal, do this, do this. But I think if I were to advise my younger self, it would be, yeah, that's the goal. But need to go to a party once a month.
A little bit of the stop and smell the roses a little bit and enjoy yourself.
Yes, exactly. And I think that helps. And I think that's kind of part of why now when I see somebody going, I think from personal experience, I could tell them, you know what, you need to pause. So you haven't taken a vacation. Okay, let's say you book out 3 weeks. Okay, can you go to the 4th week and just take a day off? I was coaching a client one time, and so she finally said, okay, Dr. Emily, I listened to you. I'm going to take this day off, right? And I said, okay, so what are you going to do? She had no clue. She hasn't taken a day off for so long. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, sometimes people go shopping in the middle of the week, or maybe you close to the beach, maybe go to the beach, or so go to the park. She had absolutely no plan, no clue what she wants to do when she has a day to herself. But I guarantee you, she got her schedule packed all of the other days. Like, she figured out her life when it's work, and she cannot figure out her life when she's supposed to have free time. And to me, that tells me how the person thinks, because work is so important. But your personal self is maybe not as important because you're not planning for yourself. Same thing go with the family. Are you planning for your family? Like, when the kids were growing up, we decided to go, and we got lucky to buy a house in a very affluent community. We didn't really belong there. But anyway, we got lucky. But then the thing is that now you have a little bit less to worry about as far as the community, the environment, the kids that your kid hang out with. And we did that very deliberately, because I know that's going to give me that peace of mind. After school, they're going to hang out with probably the right people. I'm still going to be checking on them. But when you do things like that, similar to if you're going to have an office, you choose the right location, or let's say you go software, let's, talk about Dental, right? Somebody asked me, so why did you choose Dental? Because I wanted to go on the cloud. And I said, well, it's a system used by a lot of DSOs. If they can take care of hundreds of offices, I'm pretty sure they can take care of my 2. Somebody else already did the due diligence for me. you know, yeah, I don't need to go read reviews. And I mean, I met Beth, and that was part of the reason. But this is how I make the decision. So it's not about, all of my friends are saying stuff, and I go and I read the reviews. Sometimes reviews are biased. How about if I just look at what they're delivering? They're working with hundreds of offices. Will there be problems or glitches? Of course there will be. But I would rather be working with a company like that than a company that is working with maybe an equivalent number of clientele, but not the one that have systems and they got to go across all the offices. Because if they could figure that out, they will figure out your one office.
No, absolutely. What do you think right now? What are some of the common challenges that dentists and teams are facing today, and how do you coach them?
One of the things that our dental colleagues have is the mindset where they can't let go. You put it very simply. For example, I see this debate all the time about automation, or let's say incorporating AI. Part of that is you got to let go. You got to feel, you know what, if this is helping my office, let's say you want to use a robot that answers your phone, just for example, right? You still have control over it. You can do it in a hybrid way, or you can just do 100% robot, for example. But you got to let go of the idea that every phone call needs to be answered with a person all the time. That your staff is the only people that can answer the phone, or you're the only person that the patient come to see. Hello. My best compliment is when patients come to my office, they come for a recall and they look at me and they go, who are you? I think that's a good compliment, because that means the team deliver correctly. That the patient come in not to see me. They come in to see the team. My point here is you got to let go. Just because you've been doing things a certain way, it doesn't mean it has to continue. It's like going on the cloud. I'm dinosaur. I'm tech challenge. But I know where it's going, and I'm going to incorporate that. And then I'm going to make sure that my daughter, the young dentist, she's going to be all equipped for that, because that's going to be her work. So I think the mindset is actually to let go, or to adapt and adopt, because that's how you let go of the old things and you pick up the new thing. Or cross-training staff. That people say, well, no, my assistant cannot answer the phone because she's not trained for that. Well, can you train her so she can minimally answer the phone? Because maybe the one in the front, I don't know, one day she decided to get pregnant, or she decided to get sick, or whatever it is. I should worry, but my point is, so if somebody gets sick, you can still carry on. And it's okay if that's the truth. Oh, so-and-so gets sick, so we shorthanded today. If you purposely run your office shorthanded, that's a different story. But incorporating technology, incorporating automation, using all of these new things, they're not new anymore. It's just that people haven't got on the bandwagon and actually do it. I think that's one of the challenges. So it's not so much there's too much technology, there's all these things that we worry about. It's really changing the mindset. However you've been practicing, there's new ways, there's new things to incorporate. And then thinking that I got to be the one that learn all this. No, your younger staff, they'll pick it up like nothing. You'll be sitting there trying to figure things out, but give it to the staff and they'll just figure it out. And so that mindset, I think, needs to change.
So 2 more questions for you. So the first is, where do you go to learn? You've had a lifetime of continual learning as you look to continue to advance your business, your philanthropic efforts, stay relevant in the dental space. What is your approach to making sure that you kind of know what the latest is?
I think after a certain amount of coaching that you got a coach with you, it's peer learning. It's hanging out with the right people. Because let's just say there's a level 1 to 5 and you're at level 4. You got to find the people at level 4 to hang out with. Because if you hang out with 1, 2, 3, you're going to feel really good because you know everything. And then you go to 4 and then you're talking and the conversation is, the people on level 5, they're doing that. And then for me anyway, the curiosity is, how do you get to that level 5? This could be, your income level. How do you go hang out with so-and-so, right? Because from whatever circle. So my point is, sometimes I think everybody should have a coach so that's a sounding board. You have a question, this person can help you. A coach gives you a different perspective. The coach may not even be in the dental space. Because if you look at your business as it's a business, it doesn't have to be somebody in the dental space. And actually, except for one consultant that I worked with 10 years ago who is specifically in the dental space, all of my coaches and consultants have not been dental. I'm currently working with my coach currently. He's much more than a coach. Dan Kennedy. He's a marketing guru. I can ask him any questions about any industry and he'll be able to give me the answer and he'll introduce me, make different connections. And then as far as the peer, I'm in mastermind groups and we're talking about pay mastermind group, whatever it is, 25,000, 30,000, whatever, 10,000, whatever you want. But this is a group that is committed to help each other grow. And usually when there's an investment, the people get more serious. Because with my coaching training, when I'm in a group, it's always about challenging. Like earlier, our conversation was something about writing a book. If somebody say, I think I'm going to write a book, well, I'm going to challenge you to put a deadline to it and do it. And if you say, well, I don't know how to do it, I've done books and co-author, and it's a total of 17 books. So I'm pretty sure I can give you the short version of how to write a book. Or you can sit there and figure it out yourself, either way. So I think it's very important to be in the right peer group, to pick the right conversation. You can look like a superstar. You want to go join a Facebook thread. And so sometimes I'm just wondering, the doctors on there that give an answer like paragraph. And sometimes people tell me, I would say, I can talk about this, but I don't want to type. And then people would attack me and say, hey, give an answer. And I said, but I don't want to type. This is before I learned how to dictate,
The Facebook groups are a little hit or miss out there, for sure.
Right. But my point is, I could get on the phone with you and we talk for 5 minutes and I can probably answer your question. Or we can go on and I'm trying to type. And I don't think it's a good use of time, which is where the coaching and the consulting come in, because they should be able to help you in a very fast way because of their knowledge, their experience, and you pay them for that. You pay them for the knowledge to really, the main reason to have a coach or consultant is to speed up that journey to success.
Yeah, and you get that personal connection too, which has a lot of value to it. So last question for you, Dr. Emily. You've been in dentistry for a long time. What makes you bullish about the space still? When you think about the future of the dental industry, what are some of the things that still get you excited?
One of the things that get me excited is the future, the new generation. Of course, I'm biased because I got my daughter's class of 2023 from UCLA.
Congratulations.
I'm looking at them and I go, thank you. Man, they got all these things. They can have somebody answer the phone for them. And they don't need to deal with paper. And that's the technology. And the new generation, we are moving in the right direction. What we need to move along is the human part of it, the mindset part of it. So we're moving at the same speed or almost catching up the same speed with technology. It is so awesome with system like Purr, right? I have the AI system. So my daughter, going back to the kid, right? I told her, I need you to do the diagnosis and then I need you to look at the second opinion and make sure that you don't miss anything. Now, imagine me 33 years ago. If I miss, I miss. Or my boss will tell me, you missed this, right? We have the tools to help us be better, be a better clinician. We can diagnose better. Embrace the tools, embrace the system. And because it can go so far, so fast. And I think we should be open-minded to say, you know what? I'm going to do this because even if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to retire or whatever, if you're going to sell your office, whoever come in, they're looking to see how equipped you are. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, I do want to buy this office, but it's going to cost me X dollar to upgrade it. So then I'm going to bargain down the price. And you actually know that is true. If you're not up to whatever level, and I'm not talking about high-end, high-tech, I'm talking about just bottom level. What is the minimum? I still have patients who come into my office, they haven't had digital x-ray. What's up with that?
It's a good question. What is up with that?
Or you're doing an oral cancer and they go, nobody has done that before. It just kind of blew my mind because, and this is us. This is just us keeping up with learning and keeping up with technology. To me, it's your duty when you take that oath to take care of your patients. Sometimes some of these things that you don't like to do, that's part of taking care of the patient. I tell my daughter, I remember when I first graduated and tried to do a root canal and I'm stuck. And so the patient coming back 2-3 times. Now I can say, no, come back to see Dr. So-and-so on this day. And then Dr. So-and-so is going to do it in an hour. And feeling good that you can provide that service. Not you personally, but your office, your team can provide that service. And I think when you can keep up that joy, oh, I could do this for the patient today, or my team could do this, part of what should keep you going instead of getting stressed. Oh, now I got to go learn that because everybody's doing that. And then you get stressed out on something that maybe you're not the only person that needs to do that. Let me just add something. I have this exercise that I ask people to do when I talk during my presentation, especially at my event. And I said, doctors, you write down everything you do in a day. From the time you wake up and if you treat patient, it's just one thing, treat patient. And then I want you to circle whichever activity make money. No, actually, I think it was to put a check mark. Put a check mark to whatever activity that make money. So if you're on Facebook, that doesn't make you money, right? So you put a check mark. And then I want you to circle whichever check mark that you're the only person in the office that can do. And the goal is to have no circle. So I've done this several years before, and because I have associate doctors and specialists, I don't have any circle. I'm replaceable. The more you have on there that you're the only person who can do, I'm not saying you need to be an absentee owner, because some people cannot do that. They need to have control and everything like that. But going back to before, you got to let go a little bit.
It inhibits scale and growth. You can't scale, can't grow.
And that's what makes you happy for me. So people go out and try to do a side gig or whatever, looking for joy from outside. And I think it's right there because we should be the one bringing the joy. We should be the one creating the joy. We should be the one that be able to sustain the joy. So that's my thoughts.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciated you having on. Where can people find you?
Well, I have my website is dremilyletran.com. So it's DREMILYLETRAN. But I would love to have a conversation with the doctors who want to make a change. They can go to coachroi.com, COACHROI. They can answer some questions, what's bothering them, what they want to change. And then we can hop on a call and just chat. There's no obligation, just chat and see if I can help.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The Dental Economist Show is brought to you by Planet DDS, home of Dental OS. To To find out more about how cloud-based dental software by Planet DDS helps unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care, visit www.planetdds.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes by following wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you for listening.